The photograph was taken in less than 5 seconds. No one smiled. No one adjusted their hair. No one knew it would be the last time they would all stand that close to one another. The man holding the camera cleared his throat and said, "Now," the way people always do when they want a moment to become permanent. The shutter clicked. The sound was small, almost polite. In the photograph, they are standing shoulder to shoulder, a mother with her coat buttoned wrong, a father looking slightly past the lens. As if distracted, 2 children in front, close enough that their sleeves touch. Nothing in the image explains what happens next. That is what makes it dangerous. Years later, the woman would study that photograph and realize that every important thing in her life existed on only one side of it. Before the click, she belonged to a family. After it, she belonged to a number. At the time, she was 14, old enough to understand fear, too young to understand permanence. The photograph was taken in a courtyard early in the morning. The air was cold, but not yet cruel. Someone behind them coughed. Someone else whispered a prayer that wasn't finished. A guard waved impatiently. "Hurry!" The man with the camera lowered it and handed it back without comment. There was no envelope, no promise, just a brief nod, as if he were returning something already lost. They did not hug. That detail would haunt her later. They stood there for a second longer than necessary, unsure what came next, until a voice cut through the space between them. Men to the left. The father turned instinctively. Women and children. The rest of the sentence was swallowed by movement. Hands separated. Sleeves pulled apart. Someone dropped a shoe. Someone else reached down and didn't get back up in time. The girl felt her mother as a grip loosen, not dramatically, not violently. Just enough. In the photograph, their hands are close but not touching. That detail would become unbearable. She did not scream when her father disappeared into the line moving left. She did not cry when her mother was pulled in the opposite direction. Crying required breath, and breath felt too valuable to waste. She memorized the photograph instead, the way her brother's collar sat crooked, the faint crease between her mother's eyebrows, the fact that her father's shoes were newer than everyone else's. Shoes mattered. She didn't know why yet, but she would. As she was pushed forward, she turned once. Just once. Her father did not turn back. Not because he didn't want to, because he already knew what turning back would cost. That was the moment the photograph ended. Everything after it would be something else entirely. A life built not from what remained but from what was taken in that brief, quiet space between a click and a command. For a long time, she kept the photograph only in her mind. Paper was impossible. Pockets were searched. Names were stripped away. Even a scrap of normal life could be treated like a crime. So she folded the image into memory and carried it the way you carry a secret. Carefully, quietly, with fear that even thinking about it might make it disappear. The first weeks blurred into a single season of noise. Roll calls that stole hours. Lines that never moved fast enough. Questions she didn't answer because answers were dangerous. She learned to watch instead. Older women watched the ground. They watched boots. They watched who was pulled from which line. They watched who returned and who didn't. The girl watched them watching, trying to learn the language of survival without asking anyone to translate. Her mother's last instruction replayed like a stubborn melody. Stay close. Keep your face blank. Don't volunteer. Don't argue. The problem was, there was no one to stay close to anymore. She was placed among strangers whose eyes looked older than their bodies. Some spoke her language softly at night. Others stayed silent, as if words were a luxury they couldn't afford. She did not speak much either. Not because she had nothing to say, because every sentence threatened to become a plea. And pleading, she sensed, was a kind of hope. Hope could make you careless. One evening, a woman beside her whispered, "How old are you?" 14, the girl answered. The woman exhaled slowly. "Then you must look older." De Goldie didn't understand at first. Then the woman's hand thin. Quick tugged the girl's cap lower and smudged dirt beneath her cheekbones. "Stand like you belong," the woman said. "Not like you're waiting to be saved." The girl nodded. She didn't know the woman's name. She never asked. Names were fragile here, like glass, better not to hold anything that could shatter. Days later, she saw her brother, not clearly, not fully, just a glimpse across a fence line. A child's face in motion, smaller than she remembered, his eyes scanning as if searching for something he couldn't name. She opened her mouth. A sound almost escaped. Then she stopped, because she saw the guard nearby, and the guard's boredom was sharp as a blade, because she understood, in a single instinctive flash, that calling out could cost him more than silence ever would. So she didn't shout. She did something else. She lifted her hand and pressed 2 fingers to her the small crooked gesture from the photograph. A signal no one else would notice. A message in a place that punished messages. Her brother's eyes met hers for half a second. He did not wave. He simply blinked once, slowly, as if to say, "I saw you. I'm still here." Then he was gone. That night, the photograph in her head changed. It was no longer a frozen moment. It became a map. If she could keep those details alive, the collar, the coat, the shoes, then maybe she could keep the people alive inside her, even if the camp kept trying to erase them. But the next morning, something happened that made her understand the cruelest truth of all. Memory was not enough. To build a life after separation, she would need something stronger than remembering. She would need a reason to keep going that didn't depend on anyone coming back. The reason arrived as a rumor, not the kind told later, polished into something brave. This one was small and ugly. Passed the way cold passes through a crowded room. Selections? At first, the girl pretended not to hear. Pretending was becoming a skill. But the word repeated itself. It grew weight. That morning the lines were arranged differently. The guards moved slower, almost relaxed. Some people were told to step forward. Others were told to step back. No reasons were given. The girl kept her face blank. Inside, her heart panicked. The older woman leaned close and whispered, "Do not look afraid." "What do I do?" the girl murmured. "You disappear," the woman said. "You become unremarkable." It felt impossible. Hunger sharpened her bones. Fear made her eyes too alert. She felt visible in a way that could not be hidden. A guard walked down the line and stopped 2 places ahead. He pointed. The woman stepped forward and did not return. The girl swallowed. Then the guard stood in front of her. She forced her shoulders down. She stared at the ground. She did not plead. He took her wrist. His fingers were cold. He turned her arm slightly, studying the veins, the thinness, the story her body told. She remembered the instruction. "Look older." So she straightened Hoosts, a little tightened her jaw, held her breath like someone used to obedience. The guard hesitated. Then his gaze moved past her. "You," he said, pointing behind her. The younger girl stepped out, shocked. The girl did not turn around. Afterward, she sat on the floor, hands shaking so badly she had to pin them beneath her legs. "You learned," the woman beside her said quietly, "how to survive without being saved." That night, the photograph changed. It was no longer just memory. It became evidence, because she had noticed something during the line. The guard who inspected wrists wore boots recently repaired, and the stitching felt impossible to ignore, as if someone inside the camp was quietly shaping fate one seam at a time. After that, she watched boots, not out of fixation, but instinct. She noticed patched soles at roll call, reinforced heels where none should exist, small repairs done too carefully to be accidental. The mind clings to details when it cannot change outcomes. Boots, thread, stitches, proof that someone still chose. The moment she saw the familiar repair up close came unexpectedly. A guard stepped into the barrack doorway, his foot landing in the light. The patch was clean, the stitching neat, and the final knot pulled just slightly tighter. Her chest tightened. She had seen that twist before. At home, her father repaired shoes when money was scarce. Not a cobbler by trade, but careful, always humming softly, always finishing the knot the same way. She held her breath. The guard turned and left. That night, sleep refused her. The photograph rearranged itself. Her father's shoes knew her. Then others. Better leather? Careful laces. At the time, she thought it meant nothing. Now, it felt deliberate. But hope was dangerous. So she made a rule. She would not ask. She would not chase. She would only observe. Days passed. The older woman noticed. "You keep looking at feet," she said gently. "I don't know why," the girl whispered. "Then don't name it," the woman replied. Quiet miracles last longer. That same night, her number was called. In the yard, a table waited. Papers. A pencil. A guard tapping a repaired boot. Another guard looked at her and said something impossible. Names were not asked for here. She hesitated. Before she could speak, a calm voice said, "Let her answer." It came from a man standing half in shadow. When he stepped forward, she recognized his hands before his face, her father's hands. But he did not look at her as a father. He looked at her as if she were no one at all. And she understood. Recognition here could kill them both. They never spoke. That was the rule. From that moment on, she learned how to pass her father without seeing him, how to walk past the sound of his steps without turning, how to keep her face empty when his shadow crossed the ground beside hers. Survival required distance. Days blended together. Work, counting, waiting. Hunger that dulled into something quieter, heavier. The photograph stayed intact, not as comfort, but as instruction. Do not look back. Sometimes she would notice a repaired boot near her place of work. Sometimes the stitching was rough, hurried. Sometimes it was careful. When it was careful, she knew. She never acknowledged it. Neither did he. Once, a guard complained loudly about his boots splitting at the heel, threw them onto a bench like trash. The man with the quiet hands picked them up without asking. That night, the boots were returned stronger than before. The guard never noticed the knot. Weeks passed, then months. The older woman grew weaker, her voice soft until it was almost memory. One night, she pressed something into the girl's palm, a crust of bread wrapped in cloth. "For later," she whispered. The girl wanted to refuse. Instead, she nodded. The next morning, the woman was gone. The girl ate the bread slowly, alone. She did not cry. Crying wasted water. Winter arrived without announcement. One evening, during a sudden reshuffling, names were read aloud, hers among them. She stood frozen as the list ended. Transferred. She felt the ground tilt. As she stepped forward, a repaired boot appeared in her vision. Stopped. Waited. A voice she did not recognize said quietly, "She's too small." Another voice answered, "Bored. Numbers match." A pause, then. Switcher. The pencil scratched. Her number changed. She did not move. She did not breathe. The guard waved her away. She walked back into line, legs shaking, face blank. Later, she understood what had happened. A list could be altered. Not erased. Just nudged. One line at a time. She never saw her father again after that day. Years later, long after the camps, after the silence, after the world tried to return to shape, she found the photograph again in an old coat pocket. The edges were soft now. The faces faded, but the shoes were still clear. Strong leather, careful laces. A knot pulled just a little tighter than necessary. She kept the photograph, not because it reminded her of what she lost, but because it proved something else. That even in a place designed to erase humanity, someone had chosen precision over cruelty, and that sometimes survival was stitched quietly, without witnesses, without words, and without ever saying goodbye.